I heard my dog before I saw him. A sharp, broken cry that didn't sound like barking or fear. It sounded like betrayal. By the time I reached the edge of my driveway, my heart dropped straight into my stomach. My service dog was on the ground. Blood was already visible along the side of his head, dark against his fur, soaking into the dirt beneath him. He wasn't fighting back. He wasn't growling. He was curled in on himself, trying to protect his skull as a man in a black vest labeled HOA cop stood over him, raising a heavy bat. Then the bat came down again. I shouted his name and sprinted forward, but the man didn't stop. He struck my dog once more. Deliberate, controlled, like this was something he'd done before. My dog cried out and tried to crawl away, leaving a streak of red behind him. That was the moment my body took over. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Because to understand how a fake HOA cop felt comfortable beating my dog in broad daylight, you need the backstory. I've lived in this neighborhood for a while. Quiet street, families, no real crime. I keep to myself, mind my business, and follow the rules, even though the HOA has never liked that I don't attend meetings or play politics. I'm a veteran. I don't advertise it. The only thing people really notice is my dog. He isn't just a pet. He's my service dog, trained, registered, clearly marked. He helps me stay grounded. He keeps me steady. He's been with me through things I don't talk about. The HOA never liked him. They claimed he was too large. They said he looked aggressive. They sent warnings about leash rules that didn't exist. And then they hired this guy. The so-called HOA cop had been harassing me for weeks, showing up unannounced, yelling, threatening fines, acting like he had authority he clearly didn't. I warned him to stay off my property. I documented everything. I never imagined he'd cross this line. When I reached my dog, I dropped to my knees between them, throwing my body over him just as the bat came down again. I grabbed it mid-swing and screamed for the man to back away. "What is wrong with you?" I shouted. "He charged me," the man snapped. "Aggressive animal." That was a lie, and everyone who knew my dog would have known it. My dog was bleeding, shaking, barely moving. The man stepped forward again, reaching past me toward him, and in that moment, kneeling in the dirt, blood on my hands, my dog whimpering under my chest, something inside me snapped completely, because this wasn't an HOA issue anymore. This wasn't a warning or a fine or paperwork. This was an attack. And as he raised the bat again, that's when I acted. I rushed him before he could swing again. We collided, both of us fighting for control of the bat. It scraped and rattled between us until I ripped it free from his hands. The moment it came loose, I struck back. No thinking, only reacting to what he had done. Crack! Blood split across his forehead. He staggered, but didn't stop, and the fight closed in tight. I dropped the bat and went at him with my hands, anger and adrenaline taking over. I punched him again and again, shouting until he finally lost his footing. He went down hard, scrambling and yelling, no longer a threat. The second he was down and stayed down, I turned away. I went straight back to my dog. He was trembling violently now, blood soaking through the fur on his head and neck. I pressed my jacket against the wound and dropped to my knees beside him, my hands shaking so badly I almost couldn't dial my phone. "I need an emergency vet," I said the moment someone answered. "My service dog's been attacked. He's bleeding badly." At the same time, someone nearby was already calling 911. Neighbors gathered fast, phones were out, people were yelling questions I didn't answer. All I could see were my dog's eyes, glassy, unfocused, and I kept talking to him, begging him to stay with me. The fake HOA cop lay several yards away, groaning, no longer in control, no longer dangerous. Someone told him not to move. He didn't argue. Sirens cut through the air a few minutes later. Police first, then an ambulance. Officers separated everyone immediately. One knelt beside me, another approached the man on the ground. A paramedic took over, pressing on my dog's wound while I explained through clenched teeth what had happened. "He hit my service dog," I said, multiple times. The officer looked at the vest, the tags, the blood. His expression changed instantly. "Stay with him," he told me. "Help's here." As they loaded my dog into the emergency vehicle, I climbed in beside him, still holding his paw, still talking to him, refusing to let him fade out. Behind us on my driveway, the fake HOA cop was being cuffed. And as the doors closed and the vehicle pulled away, I knew this wasn't just about what he'd done to my dog. This was about what he'd exposed. Because once the law saw this, no one involved was walking away from it. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. The fallout started before my dog even came out of surgery. While I sat in the emergency vet's waiting room, blood still on my clothes, an officer from the scene showed up to take a full statement. Not rushed, not skeptical, calm and precise. The kind of calm that tells you they already know where this is going. I walked him through everything: weeks of harassment, the fake authority, the warnings about my dog, and finally, the moment I watched a grown man beat a clearly marked service animal with a bat. When I finished, he nodded once and said, "I need you to understand something. What happened out there is a felony." He explained it plainly. Service animals aren't just pets under the law, they're protected. Interfering with one, let alone injuring it, is treated the same way as attacking the person they serve. And that was before we even got to impersonation. Back at my house, detectives were already pulling footage from neighbors, multiple angles, clear audio. One video caught the first strike, another caught the second, a third caught him ignoring people screaming for him to stop. There was no ambiguity. When the cops visited the cop in the hospital, the fake HOA cop tried to change his story once he realized how serious it was. First, he claimed the dog attacked him. Then he said he was defending HOA property. Then he tried saying he was authorized. None of that held up, because when they searched his phone, they found the messages: direct instructions from the HOA president, complaints about my dog being a problem, orders to handle it and don't worry about complaints. That's when the investigation blew wide open. The HOA president was brought in for questioning that same night. She denied everything until detectives showed her the messages, the timestamps, the language, the encouragement to escalate. She stopped talking after that. By morning, charges were filed against the fake HOA cop: felony animal cruelty, aggravated interference with a service animal, impersonating authority, and assault. And the HOA president: conspiracy, soliciting violent conduct, civil rights violations, endangerment. The HOA itself wasn't spared. Their insurance dropped them within days. Multiple homeowners came forward with their own stories: threats, fake fines, intimidation. Lawsuits followed fast. As for my dog, he survived. Surgery was long, expensive, exhausting, but he pulled through. When the vet finally brought him out, bandaged and groggy, I dropped to my knees and held him like I was afraid to let go. The judge didn't go easy. The fake HOA cop was sentenced to 7 years, fined heavily, and permanently barred from any enforcement or security work. The HOA president lost her position and sentenced to 3 years in state prison and was personally liable for damages and vet costs. The HOA was restructured under court supervision. Quiet return to the neighborhood. My dog healed slowly. He still flinches sometimes, but he's back at my side, vest on, head high. And every time I walk past that house where the HOA president used to live, I'm reminded of one simple truth: they thought it was just a dog. They didn't know the law. They didn't know the consequences. And by the time they did, it was already too late. What do you think, folks? Did I do the right thing, or did I take things too far? What would you have done if a fake HOA cop struck your dog with a bat? Leave it down in the comments. I would love to know. The end.